The Belgian Grand Prix is supposed to be one of those events that sends chills down the spine of every motorsport fan. Spa-Francorchamps, with its legendary Eau Rouge corner, unpredictable weather, and historic battles, is often where heroes are made. But this year, the headline wasn't about epic overtakes or brave drives. Instead, it was about frustration, anger, and a storm of controversy, both on and off the track. The FIA's handling of the Belgian GP has become one of the most talked about disasters of the season. Drivers were furious, fans were left disappointed, and the race that promised so much ended up raising more questions than answers. Max Verstappen, usually calm and calculated, was openly frustrated with how the FIA managed the race, and he wasn't alone. Across the paddock, murmurs of discontent turned into public criticism. The big question everyone is asking is this: has the FIA gone too far with its overcautious approach? And is it ruining the very spirit of Formula One? In this video, we'll break down the decisions that caused the uproar, why drivers like Verstappen and Hamilton are calling out the race director, the hidden dangers threatening Spa's future, and the critical changes F1 desperately needs to bring back its thrilling edge. And trust me, what you're about to hear will completely change the way you look at F1's wet weather racing. From the start of the weekend, everyone knew rain would play a part in this Grand Prix. Spa's microclimate is infamous. One part of the track can be soaked while another remains bone dry. Teams well aware of this set up their cars accordingly. Rear wings were adjusted, downforce was increased, and strategies were built around one thing: embracing the challenge of a wet race. But all those meticulous preparations were thrown out the window when the FIA stepped in. The opening laps were completed behind the safety car, and instead of letting the drivers race, the field was brought to a complete halt. Cars were parked in the pit lane, and what followed was a waiting game, an agonising 90-minute pause where fans sat restless, teams grew frustrated, and drivers simply wanted to do what they came for: race. Rain, after all, is not new to Formula One. In fact, some of the sport's most legendary moments happened in the rain. Think back to Ayrton Senna's otherworldly performance at Donington in 1993, or Lewis Hamilton's masterclass at Silverstone. These moments weren't just about speed. They were about courage, instinct, and raw talent. And yet, in 2025, it feels like rain has become more of a threat to racing than an opportunity for greatness. The race director's call to delay racing was the turning point of the weekend. While safety is always a priority, many felt the FIA had gone too far. Drivers completed their formation lap, but rather than testing conditions further or giving it a few exploratory laps, the decision was made to stop and wait for the weather to improve. But here's the kicker: there was a window of opportunity where racing could have resumed. The rain had eased slightly, and with the field circulating behind the safety car, the standing water on the track could have been cleared. Instead, the FIA chose to wait for near-perfect conditions, essentially betraying teams that had taken risks with their setups. For a sport built on pushing the limits, this overly cautious approach didn't sit well. F1 isn't meant to be predictable. It's meant to be chaotic, thrilling, and dangerous. When the FIA starts removing the unpredictability factor, we're left with a sanitized version of the sport, one that feels less about skill and bravery and more about ticking boxes. If there's one driver who never shies away from speaking his mind, it's Max Verstappen. The reigning champion didn't hold back in his criticism of the FIA's decisions. "The start procedure being suspended is a bit silly," he said, visibly frustrated. "You should just run a few laps. Jesus, they are way too cautious. Now the heavy rain is coming and then it's going to be a 3-hour delay." Verstappen's frustration wasn't just about the delay. His team had made significant changes to the car specifically for wet conditions, switching out the engine and tweaking the rear wing to maximise grip in the rain. All of that effort was wasted when the FIA waited for dry conditions instead. Even his engineer Simon admitted that had they known the FIA's plan, they would have gone for an entirely different setup. And Verstappen wasn't alone. Hamilton, Alonso, and even younger drivers like Lando Norris expressed disappointment at how disconnected the FIA seemed from the reality of the race. This wasn't just a single driver complaining, it was a collective voice from the grid saying that let us race. To understand why the FIA is being so conservative, we have to look at recent history. The sport has been shaken by tragic accidents such as the death of Antoine Hubert at Spa in 2019 and Van der Hoff in 2023. These incidents have left deep scars, and understandably the FIA wants to avoid another tragedy at all costs. But here's the question: where do we draw the line between safety and spectacle? Every driver who gets behind the wheel of an F1 car knows the risks. They've spent years honing their craft in conditions far worse than this. They understand that hard conditions don't mean impossible. Yet, the FIA seems intent on creating conditions where risk is minimised to the point of removing the challenge entirely. Yes, no one wants another fatality, but F1 has always been a balance between danger and skill. If we eliminate the former completely, are we also stripping away what makes the sport special? Rain used to be the ultimate equaliser in Formula One. It separated the good drivers from the great ones. It created drama, forced split-second decisions, and delivered unforgettable moments. But now, it feels like rain is treated as a curse rather than a spectacle. Fans have fond memories of classic wet weather races, like Hamilton's charge at the 2008 British GP or Verstappen's brilliance at Interlagos in 2024. These are races where drivers truly earned their victories by taming conditions that seemed impossible. And yet, Spa 2025 showed us a very different story. Instead of letting drivers show their skill, we got delays, safety cars, and a race that felt hollow. It's ironic because wet weather tyres were developed precisely for these conditions. They're supposed to clear water and provide enough grip to keep racing exciting, but the FIA's hesitation to use them is making many fans wonder, what's the point of having them at all? One of the loudest criticisms from this weekend was directed not just at the FIA, but at the tyres themselves. Full wet tyres, designed by Pirelli, are supposed to clear 85 litres of water per second. On paper, that sounds impressive, but in practice, drivers rarely trust them enough to race at competitive speeds. The result? Intermediate tyres have become the default, but they're not meant for fully wet conditions. This creates a dangerous middle ground, conditions too wet for inters but not safe enough in the FIA's eyes for full wets. It's no wonder drivers are frustrated. If Formula One wants to embrace wet racing again, there needs to be innovation in tyre technology. Fans are tired of seeing cars lined up in the pit lane instead of on the track. It's time to give drivers the tools they need to race safely but aggressively even in the rain. The fallout from this race has also raised questions about Spa's long-term future on the F1 calendar. This isn't the first time weather has caused chaos here, but instead of adapting to Spa's unique challenges, there's growing pressure to replace it with safer circuits. Losing Spa would be a tragedy. This is a track that embodies the spirit of Formula One, high-speed corners, unpredictable weather, and a history of iconic moments. But if the FIA continues to treat rain like an automatic red flag, will legendary circuits like Spa survive? In Formula 2, we've seen drivers race under similarly unpredictable conditions without the excessive delays. Why can't the pinnacle of motorsport do the same? If Spa is removed from the calendar, it won't just be a loss for Belgium. It will be a loss for the very identity of F1. So what's the solution? Drivers have been clear. They want more input in these decisions. Instead of race directors making unilateral calls, why not consult the drivers after a few laps behind the safety car? Let them test the track and give feedback. Second, tyre technology needs a major overhaul. If full wets can't do the job, Pirelli and F1 need to go back to the drawing board and produce something that can. Fans want to see racing, not waiting games. Finally, the FIA needs to find the balance between safety and excitement. Yes, protecting drivers is vital, but F1 can't lose its edge. The sport's greatest moments have always come when drivers pushed beyond their limits, not when they sat waiting for perfect conditions. The Belgian GP will go down as one of the most controversial races in recent memory, not because of an on-track battle, but because of decisions made off it. Drivers like Verstappen have made it clear. They're not happy, and neither are the fans. So we leave you with this question. Was the FIA right to prioritise safety, or did they rob us of a great race? Do you believe Spa's future is in danger because of these cautious decisions? And most importantly, what changes would you make to ensure F1 remains the heart-pounding spectacle we all love? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another F1 deep dive.